Hi, welcome to another hands-on session on Google Cloud Platform. I'm Yafra Khan from Skill Curve, and in this video, we will have a look at Google Cloud SQL with a brief overview and a hands-on lab for working with Cloud SQL instances. Let's look at an overview of Google Cloud SQL. Google Cloud SQL is a fully managed relational database service available in GCP. It lets you create, manage, maintain, and delete databases as well as users. Google Cloud SQL instances are vertically scalable, meaning that you can easily increase the hardware capacity of the instance. A Google Cloud SQL instance consists of a primary instance and a standby instance. So in case of an instance failure, the standby instance takes over as the primary instance. This ensures high availability. Google Cloud SQL can be used with SQL Server, MySQL, and PostgreSQL. Many applications running on Google Cloud use Cloud SQL for their database needs. Now we will start with our hands-on lab. These are the steps involved. Firstly, we will log into our Google Cloud account. We will then create the required type of database instance. After that, we will create a database inside our instance. We will then create a table for our database and load data into it. And finally, we will run some SQL select queries on our data. Now let's get started with our lab. So firstly, open your browser in the incognito mode. Now we'll go to cloud.google.com. Now if you do not have a Google Cloud account, you need to click on Get Started for Free. Since I have an account, I'll click on Sign In. Enter your login details. Now go to Console. So now we'll create our SQL instance. From the search bar, search for SQL. So from here, click on Create Instance. You can choose the type of your database engine. I'll choose MySQL since it is easy to use and has better documentation. So here you can type in your instance info. First choose an ID and then a password. Then we'll select the latest version of MySQL database. After that, we'll choose a region. I'll go with US Central one. So in the zonal availability, you can either choose single zone or multiple zones. If availability is not your preference, then you can choose single zone. I'll choose multiple zones. On the right side, you can see the summary of your instance. Click on Create Instance. Now you can see a dashboard where different options for CPU utilization, configuration, maintenance, and logs are shown. So now MySQL instance has been created successfully. Within your MySQL instance, you can see multiple options on the left vertical menu and also on the top horizontal menu. We'll look at some of these options. So for creating a database inside your MySQL instance, click on the databases options on the left vertical menu. You can see that some system databases are already there. To create a new database, click on Create Database. Now specify a name for your database. We'll keep other options as default. Click on Create. Now we can see our newly created database in the list. You can also associate a user with a MySQL database. So go to Users on the left menu. Here we can see that we already have a root user with built-in authentication. We can create a new user. Click on Add User Account. Here you have the option to either create a new username with built-in authentication, or you can work with an existing Cloud IAM user. I'll choose the Cloud IAM option. Enter the principal with which you want to authenticate. Click on Add. So now your IAM user account has been associated with your MySQL instance. Now we'll create a table within our database and load sample data into it. For that, we need to access our MySQL database from the Cloud Shell and write scripts there. So we'll go to Overview, and when we scroll down, we can see the Open Cloud Shell option. We'll click on that, and this will activate our Cloud Shell. So before working with Google Cloud Shell to access your MySQL instance, you need to do one more thing. From the search bar, search for Cloud SQL Admin API. Here you need to enable this API. So our SQL API has been enabled. Now go to Cloud Shell. To connect to your MySQL instance, use this command. So here we'll input our instance name and username. Now you'll be prompted to authorize. Click on Authorize. Now you will be asked for a password. Now you will be asked to enter the password. This is the password that you created when you were creating the MySQL instance. Okay, so now your connection with the MySQL instance is established. So the first thing we need to do is to specify the name of our database. We'll use this command. So now we'll use the MySQL create command to create a table inside our database. This table is called pets, having details of different kinds of pets. So this is our create statement. It consists of ID, name, weight, species, age category, and shorts current for the columns of the pets data. Enter this command. So now our query has been executed. To see the list of tables available in our database, we'll use this command. So we can see one table inside our DemoDB database. Now to see the details of our table, we'll use this command. This will show the details of our table, including the column names and their type. So now that our table has been created, we'll load the data into our created table. For that, we can use the insert commands. However, since this is an empty table, it will be more convenient to use a CSV file to load the data into our table. So I have this pets.csv file that contains the data for our pets table. First, we need to upload this file to our cloud storage bucket. For that, we'll search for cloud storage in the search bar. So here in the browser tab, we can see our buckets. We'll click on our bucket, and then we'll click on upload files. We'll choose the pets.csv file. Okay, so now our pets.csv file has been uploaded into our bucket. Now we'll go back to our MySQL instance. Inside our MySQL instance, we can see the top horizontal menu. Here we can see the option for import. We'll click on that. Click on browse. Select your bucket, and inside your bucket, choose the pets.csv file and click on select. Now from the file format, choose CSV. In the destination, we'll choose our database name and we'll type our table name. Click on import. So now our pets table has been populated with the CSV data. Now we will run some queries in our shell to work with our data. To see all the data that has been loaded into our pets table, we'll use the select static command. So here we can see that this command returns 12 rows containing all of our data. If you want to insert more data onto your table, you can use the insert command. Here we are inserting the data for a cat named Brownie. We insert another row for the species parrot. Now when we use the select query, you can see the newly inserted data. We can also use the SQL update statement to modify some data into our table. This statement updates the age category of a pet named Brownie. We can also use a select statement to see all the records against a particular pet name with this query. Here we can see the data for the pet named Mr. Browser. We can also use an AND logical operator to return all the dogs whose weight is 40. If you want to see the kinds of species available in our data set, we can use this command. Now this shows all the kinds of species available in our data set. We can also select the ID and name of species which are either cat or dog. For this, we'll use the OR operator. Now if we decide to delete all the data inside our table, we'll use this command. When we use the select static statement, we can see that our table is empty. These were some of the SQL queries which we can perform on our data. There is a lot more you can do with your data with more complex queries. In this lab, we learned about the Cloud SQL service in Google Cloud Platform with overview of this as well as a hands-on lab for creating an instance, creating a database, creating table, loading data into table and running some SQL queries. I hope this information was beneficial and helpful in getting you started with the Google Cloud SQL service. Thank you.